They were just two little girls, standing in the cold, whispering to a grave. And a powerful man, someone who owned half the city, stood just a few steps away, listening. What he heard that night didn't just break his heart. It changed everything. Because sometimes, the quietest prayers carry the loudest pain. If stories like this touch your heart, take a moment to subscribe. There are many more stories waiting for you here. It was Mother's Day night. The cemetery was almost empty, wrapped in silence so deep it felt sacred. A pale moon hung low in the sky, casting long shadows over rows of headstones. The wind moved gently, like it didn't want to disturb the dead or the living who came to remember them. Two small figures walked slowly between the graves. They held hands tightly, as if letting go, even for a second, might make the other disappear. Emily and Olivia, 5 years old. Too young to understand the world, but already carrying more pain than most people ever would. Their clothes were worn, slightly dirty. Their hair messy, tied back in uneven ponytails. They looked like children the world had forgotten. But they kept walking, step by step, until they reached a simple grave. No flowers, no candles, just a cold stone with a name carved into it. Sarah Thompson. Their mother. Emily swallowed hard, her little fingers tightening around her sister's hand. Olivia stepped closer, her small lips trembling. "Happy Mother's Day, Mom," she whispered softly. Her voice almost disappeared into the night. Emily knelt down and placed a tiny bunch of wildflowers at the base of the grave. They were slightly crushed, picked from somewhere along the road, but arranged with care. Like love. "We tried to find the prettiest ones," Emily said quietly, her voice steady, but her eyes full of tears. "We hope you like them." Olivia sniffed, wiping her cheek with the back of her hand. "We miss you," she added. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They just stood there, two little girls, alone in a world that had taken everything from them. The wind grew colder. Olivia leaned closer to her sister. "Emily," she whispered, "do you think Mom can still hear us?" Emily hesitated. Then she nodded. "Yeah, I think she can." Olivia took a deep breath, as if gathering all the courage in her tiny body. "Then, let's make a wish." Emily looked at her, surprised. "A wish?" Olivia nodded, her eyes shining with hope and sadness at the same time. "Like we used to, when Mom was here." For a second, Emily just stared at her. Then slowly, she nodded too. The two girls closed their eyes. Their small hands clasped together tightly. And in one soft, trembling voice, they whispered, "We wish we had a family again." The words floated into the cold night air, fragile, but filled with something powerful. Hope. Not far from them, someone heard it. A man stood in the shadows, completely still. Jack Thornton, 35. A billionaire. CO. A man people called powerful, unstoppable, untouchable. But right now, he looked anything but. He had come to the cemetery for his own reasons. His expensive coat, his polished shoes, they didn't belong in a place like this. But grief doesn't care about wealth. It finds everyone. Jack stood in front of a grave just a few rows away. His son's grave. Michael Thornton, 4 years old. Gone too soon. Jack's hand trembled slightly as he touched the cold stone. "Hey, champ," he murmured, his voice low, almost breaking. "Dad's here." His throat tightened. 3 years had passed. But the pain? It never left. It just learned how to hide. Until moments like this. Until nights like this. And then, he heard it. "We wish we had a family again." Jack froze. His heart skipped. Slowly, he turned his head. And that's when he saw them. 2 little girls. standing in front of a grave, holding onto each other like they were the only thing keeping themselves from falling apart. For a moment, Jack couldn't breathe, because in them, he saw something familiar. Something that hit deeper than anything he expected. Loneliness. The same kind his son must have felt in those final days. The same helplessness. The same quiet fear. The girls turned and began walking away. Slowly. Silently. Disappearing into the darkness. Jack didn't move. Not at first. But something inside him shifted. A crack. A pull. A voice he hadn't listened to in years. Do something. His chest tightened. His eyes filled. And before he even realized it, tears were falling. Real tears. The kind he hadn't allowed himself to feel since the day he lost his son. He leaned against the gravestone, trying to steady himself. "Michael," he whispered. "Did you hear that?" The wind answered softly. Or maybe something else did. Jack closed his eyes. And in that moment, he made a decision. A quiet one, but powerful enough to change 4 lives forever. If you were in his place, what would you have done? Would you walk away, or follow those girls into the dark? Let me know in the comments. Because Jack, he didn't walk away. He took a step forward, and then another, following the path the twins had taken, not knowing that this was the beginning of something far bigger than he ever imagined. Jack's footsteps echoed softly against the gravel path as he moved deeper into the darkness. The night felt heavier now, not because of the silence, but because of what he had just heard. 2 little girls, wishing for a family. It stayed in his chest like something unfinished, like a question he couldn't ignore. He kept walking, his eyes scanning ahead, trying to catch a glimpse of them again. But they were gone, swallowed by the night. Jack slowed down, his breath uneven. For a moment he just stood there, listening, hoping. Nothing. Only the wind brushing past the graves. He ran a hand through his hair, frustration building inside him. "Where did you go?" he murmured under his breath. It didn't make sense. He didn't know their names. He didn't know where they came from. And yet, he couldn't shake the feeling that he had just missed something important. Something he wasn't supposed to miss. After a few seconds, Jack turned back slowly. But this time, his steps didn't feel the same. When he passed his son's grave again, he stopped, looked down. The moonlight reflected faintly off the stone. "Michael," he said quietly, his voice softer now. "I don't know why, but I feel like I was supposed to hear that." He swallowed hard. "I don't know what it means yet, but I'm not ignoring it." For the first time in years, his voice carried something other than grief. Purpose. Jack stood there for a few more seconds, then finally walked away. But this time, he didn't feel alone. Morning came quietly. Sunlight poured through the massive windows of the Thornton mansion, lighting up every polished surface, every expensive detail. Everything looked perfect. But the house itself felt empty. Jack sat at the edge of his bed, staring at nothing. He hadn't slept. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw them. 2 small girls, holding onto each other. "We wish we had a family again." He exhaled slowly, rubbing his face. Why did it hit him so hard? He had seen hardship before. Charity events, donations, foundations. He had written checks big enough to change lives. But this felt different. Because last night, it wasn't statistics. It wasn't reports. It was real. It was personal. Jack stood up and walked toward the large mirror across the room. For a moment, he just looked at himself. expensive clothes, perfect image, a man the world admired. But behind his eyes, there was something broken, something unfinished. He turned away. Downstairs, the kitchen was quiet. Emma stood by the counter, a cup of coffee in her hands. Untouched. Her eyes were distant, like she wasn't really there. Jack paused at the doorway for a second, watching her. She looked fragile. Not physically, but emotionally. Like someone who had been holding on for too long. "Morning," he said gently. Emma looked up, forcing a small smile. "Morning." Her voice was soft, almost empty. Jack walked in slowly. "You didn't sleep either?" Emma gave a slight shrug. "Not really." Silence settled between them. It had been like this for a while now. Since Michael. They were still together, still living in the same house. But something between them had changed. Like there was a space. Neither of them knew how to cross. Jack leaned against the counter. "I went to the cemetery last night," he said. Emma's fingers tightened slightly around the cup. "I know," she replied quietly. "I figured." Jack hesitated, then continued. "I saw something." Emma glanced at him, not fully interested, but not ignoring him either. "Two little girls," Jack said. That caught her attention. She looked up again. "What do you mean?" Jack took a slow breath. "They were there, at a grave. Their moms." Emma didn't say anything. She just listened. "They couldn't have been more than 5, he continued. "Wearing old clothes. Looked like they hadn't eaten properly in days." Emma's expression shifted, just a little. "They were alone?" she asked softly. Jack nodded. "They brought flowers. Wild ones. Picked from somewhere." He paused. His voice dropped. "And then they made a wish." Emma's eyes flickered. "What kind of wish?" Jack looked at her, and for a second, something heavy passed between them. "They wished for a family." The words landed quietly, but they stayed. Emma's grip on the cup tightened again. Her eyes moved away, to the window, to somewhere far. Jack watched her carefully. He knew that look. It was the same one she had on the worst nights, when memories came back too strong, when the silence in the house felt unbearable. "They reminded me of him," Jack said softly. Emma closed her eyes, just for a second, but it was enough. Jack immediately regretted it. "I'm sorry," he added quickly. "I didn't mean." "It's okay," Emma interrupted, her voice barely above a whisper. But it wasn't okay. Not really. Nothing had been okay for a long time. Jack stepped closer. "I don't know why, but I can't get them out of my head," he admitted. "I keep thinking about where they went, if they're safe." Emma slowly set the cup down, still untouched. "What are you thinking of doing?" she asked. Jack didn't answer right away, because he wasn't sure himself. But deep down, he already knew. "I think," he said slowly, "I need to find them." Emma turned to him. There was something in her eyes now. Not just pain. Something else. Fear. Hope. Uncertainty. "Jack," she began carefully, "we're barely holding ourselves together." Her voice cracked slightly. "And you want to bring something else into our lives?" Jack didn't look away. "I'm not trying to replace anything," he said quietly. Emma shook her head. "That's not what I meant." Silence again. Heavy. Real. Jack stepped closer. "Last night, for the first time in years, I felt something," he said. Emma's eyes searched his face. "What?" Jack's voice softened. "Like I had a reason to get up again." That hit her. harder than anything else. Emma looked down, then back at him, and for a brief moment, the emptiness in her eyes shifted, just a little. "What if," she whispered almost to herself, "they disappear?" Jack's jaw tightened. "Then I'll find them anyway." Emma studied him, really studied him, and in that moment, she realized something. He wasn't just talking. He had already decided. Jack turned slightly, reaching for his phone on the counter. Emma's voice stopped him. "Jack." He looked back. Her expression was unreadable. "Do you even know where to start?" she asked. Jack stared at her for a second, then looked down at his phone, and quietly said, "I'm about to find out." Jack stared at the phone in his hand for a moment, then unlocked it. His fingers moved quickly, but his mind was already ahead of him. "Mike," he said as soon as the call connected. There was a brief pause on the other end, then a familiar voice answered, slightly groggy. "Jack, it's early. Everything okay?" "No," Jack replied, his tone calm but firm. "I need your help." That was enough to wake Mike up. "What's going on?" Jack glanced toward Emma. She hadn't moved. She was watching him, quietly, trying to understand where this was going. "I need information," Jack continued. "Homeless children. Specifically, 2 girls. Around 5 years old. Twins." There was a pause. Mike let out a slow breath. "Jack, that's not exactly something you just pull up like a business report." "I know," Jack said. "But I also know you'll figure it out." Another pause. This one heavier. "Why?" Mike finally asked. Jack didn't hesitate. "Because I'm not letting them disappear." Silence. Then Mike's voice softened just slightly. "All right," he said. "Give me a few hours. I'll see what I can dig up." Jack ended the call. The room felt different now, like something had already started, and there was no turning back. Emma exhaled slowly. "You're serious," she said. Jack looked at her. "I've never been more serious about anything." Emma held his gaze for a long moment, then quietly asked, "And what happens if you find them?" Jack didn't answer right away, because the truth was, he didn't have a full plan, only a feeling, a pull. "I don't know yet," he admitted, "but I'll figure it out when I get there." Emma nodded faintly, not convinced, but not stopping him either. Across the city, morning looked very different. The sunlight didn't feel warm here. It slipped through cracks, broken spaces, places that weren't meant to be lived in. Emily stirred first. Her eyes opened slowly, adjusting to the light. For a moment, she didn't move. She just listened. It was quiet. Too quiet. Then she felt it. A small hand still holding onto hers. Olivia. Still asleep. Curled up close. Emily let out a soft breath. She carefully sat up, trying not to wake her. The space around them was tight. Makeshift, pieces of cardboard and plastic forming something that barely counted as shelter. But to them, it was home. For now. Emily looked down at her sister. Olivia's face was peaceful, but even in sleep there was a faint tension there. Like her body didn't fully trust the world to stay quiet. Emily brushed a strand of hair from her sister's face. "Hey, Liv," she whispered gently. Olivia stirred. Her eyes fluttered open. For a second, she looked confused. Then she saw Emily, and relaxed. "Morning," she murmured softly. Emily smiled faintly. "Morning." Olivia stretched slightly, then sat up, rubbing her eyes. "I had a dream," she said quietly. Emily tilted her head. "What kind?" Olivia hesitated. then said, "Mom was there." Emily's expression softened. What was she doing? Olivia looked down at her hands. She was smiling. That hit deeper than expected. Emily swallowed. "Yeah?" she said softly. Olivia nodded. She said, "Everything was gonna be okay." Emily didn't reply right away, because part of her wanted to believe that, but another part had learned not to. So, she reached for Olivia's hand. "It will be," she said quietly. Olivia looked at her. "You promise?" Emily hesitated, just for a second, then nodded. "I promise," even if she wasn't sure how. A little later, the girls stepped out onto the street. The city was already awake. People moving fast. Cars passing. No one really noticing them. Emily held Olivia's hand tightly as they walked. They passed a bakery. The smell hit instantly. Fresh bread. Warm. Soft. Olivia slowed down. Her eyes fixed on the window. She whispered. Emily already knew. She looked at the display, then back at her sister. "I know," she said quietly. Olivia didn't ask. She just stood there, staring. Emily gently pulled her along. "Come on, we'll find something." Olivia nodded, but her steps were slower now. Back at Thornton Enterprises, Jack sat at his desk, but he wasn't working. Not really. His laptop was open, but the screen showed something else. Search results. Articles. Reports. Images. Homeless children. The numbers were worse than he expected. Far worse. Jack leaned back slightly, his jaw tightening. "How is this even possible?" he muttered. "All this wealth. All this power. And yet, children still lived like this. Right outside. Invisible." His phone buzzed. "Mike." Jack answered immediately. "Tell me you found something." "I found a lot," Mike replied. "Too much, honestly." Jack leaned forward. "Focus." "All right," Mike continued. "There's a cluster of cases in the downtown area. Kids slipping through the system. No official records. No guardians." Jack's eyes sharpened. "Twins." A pause. Then, "Yeah," Mike said slowly. "There are mentions. Not confirmed. But a few reports from shelters. 2 girls. Always together. Avoiding authorities." Jack's heart skipped. "That's them." "You don't know that for sure," Mike said carefully. "I do." Silence. Then Mike sighed. "All right, if it is them, they've been moving around. Hard to track. But there's one area where they've been spotted more than once." Jack stood up. "I'm going there. Jack. I'm not waiting." He grabbed his coat. "Already moving. Send me the location." Across the city, Emily and Olivia sat on a park bench. Between them, a small paper bag. Inside, a few leftovers someone had given them. They ate slowly, carefully, like they didn't know when the next meal would come. Olivia looked up at Emily. Yeah. "Do you think someone will ever take us home?" Emily froze for a second. The question lingered in the air. Heavy. Real. She forced a small smile. "Yeah," she said. "One day." Olivia's eyes lit up slightly. "Really?" Emily nodded. "Really?" Olivia leaned her head gently against her shoulder. "I hope it's soon." Emily didn't respond. She just wrapped an arm around her sister, holding her close, as if that alone could protect her from everything. Not far away, a black car slowly pulled up, and inside, Jack stepped out, his eyes scanning the park, searching, looking. And then he saw them. Two little girls, sitting close together, sharing a meal like it was something precious. Jack's breath caught. For a moment, he didn't move, because somehow, he already knew. He had found them, and without realizing it, he took a slow step forward, not knowing that this moment would test everything he thought he understood about love and responsibility. Jack slowed his steps without even realizing it. Something about the way they sat there, close together, quiet, careful. It didn't feel like just a moment. It felt fragile, like if he moved too fast, he might break it. Emily noticed him first. Her eyes lifted slightly, sharp, alert. Not curious, cautious. The kind of look a child learns when the world hasn't been kind. She straightened a little, her body shifting just enough to place herself slightly in front of Olivia. Protective. Jack stopped a few feet away. He didn't say anything at first. Didn't want to scare them. Olivia followed Emily's gaze, then froze when she saw him. Her fingers tightened around the small paper bag. Neither of them spoke. The space between them filled with something unspoken. Distance. Uncertainty. Jack took a slow breath. "It's okay," he said gently, keeping his voice low. "I'm not here to bother you." Emily didn't respond. She just watched him. Carefully. Jack noticed everything in that moment. The worn shoes. The thin jackets. The way they held onto their food like it mattered more than anything else. His chest tightened. "I saw you last night," he added softly. That changed something. Emily's expression shifted, just slightly. "Cemetery," Jack said. "You were there." Olivia looked at Emily, confused. Emily's eyes narrowed just a little. "You were there too?" she asked. Her voice was quiet, but steady. Jack nodded. "Yeah." Silence again. But this time, it wasn't as sharp. Olivia tilted her head slightly. "You heard us?" she asked, her voice smaller. Jack hesitated, then nodded again. "I did." Olivia looked down. Her cheeks flushed faintly, like she had said something she wasn't supposed to. Emily squeezed her hand gently. "It's okay," she whispered to her. Then she looked back at Jack. "Why are you here?" she asked. Straight. No fear in her voice. Just truth. Jack respected that. He didn't rush his answer. Because it mattered. "I wanted to make sure you're okay," he said finally. Emily studied his face, trying to read something deeper. "And if we're not?" she asked. Jack's jaw tightened slightly. "Then I help." Emily's eyes flickered. Not convinced. "People say that," she replied quietly. "They don't always mean it." Jack didn't argue. Didn't try to convince her. Instead, he took a small step closer. Not enough to invade their space. Just enough to show he wasn't leaving. "I mean it," he said. Simple. Honest. Olivia looked up again. Her eyes softer now. "You don't look like the people who help," she said. Jack almost smiled. "Yeah," he admitted. "I get that a lot." Emily's lips pressed together. Still unsure. Jack glanced at the paper bag between them. "Is that all you have?" he asked gently. Emily instinctively pulled it closer. A reflex. Jack noticed, and immediately stepped back half a step. "Hey, it's yours," he said quickly. "I'm not taking anything from you." Emily relaxed. Just a little. "It's enough," she said, even though it clearly wasn't. Jack looked around briefly, then back at them. "There's a place not far from here," he said. "You can get a full meal. No cost." Emily shook her head immediately. "No." Jack paused. Why not? Because places like that, she hesitated, choosing her words carefully, they ask questions. Jack understood. And you don't want to answer them, he said. Emily nodded. Olivia looked between them. But I'm still hungry, she whispered. That broke something inside him. Jack crouched down slowly, lowering himself to their level. I can bring food here, he said. No questions. No one else involved. Emily looked at him again, searching. Why? She asked. The question was different this time. Less defensive. More real. Jack didn't look away. Because someone should. Emily held his gaze. Long enough that it felt like she was deciding something important. Then she looked down. And gave a small nod. Okay, she said quietly. Olivia's face lit up just a little. Jack stood up. I'll be right back, he said. He walked quickly, but not rushed. Like he didn't want to give them a reason to leave. A few minutes later, he returned. Carrying more than just a small meal. Sandwiches. Fruit. Water. Simple things. But enough. He placed the bag gently on the bench, not too close, letting them reach for it themselves. Olivia didn't wait long. She opened it carefully, her eyes widening. Emily leaned in. For a second, neither of them moved. Then Olivia picked up a sandwich. Slowly, like it might disappear. She took a small bite. Then another. And another. Faster now. Emily followed. But even while eating, her eyes occasionally flicked toward Jack. Still watching. Still cautious. Jack stayed quiet. Just stood there. Letting them eat. Letting the moment be what it was. After a while, Olivia looked up at him. Thank you, she said softly. Jack nodded. You're welcome. Emily wiped her hands on her jacket. You didn't have to do that, she said. I know, Jack replied. Emily tilted her head slightly. Then why did you? Jack looked at her. Really looked at her. Because last night you made a wish, he said. Olivia froze slightly. Emily's expression changed. Subtle, but clear. You heard that too, she said. Jack nodded. Emily looked down for a moment. Then back at him. Her voice quieter now. Wishes don't come true, she said. There was no bitterness in it. Just experience. Jack took a slow breath. Sometimes they don't, he agreed. A pause. Then he added. But sometimes they start with someone listening. Emily didn't respond. But something in her eyes shifted. Just slightly. Olivia leaned closer to her. She whispered. What if he's different? Emily didn't answer right away. Because she didn't know. But for the first time, she wasn't sure he wasn't. Jack glanced at them both. Then said gently, What are your names? Emily hesitated. Just for a second. Then, Emily, she said. Olivia smiled faintly. I'm Olivia. Jack nodded. Emily. Olivia. He repeated their names like they mattered. Like they weren't invisible. I'm Jack. Olivia looked at him. Are you gonna leave now? She asked. Jack paused. The question wasn't simple. It carried something deeper. Fear. Expectation. Disappointment. Waiting to happen. He looked at her. Then at Emily. And said quietly, Not if you don't want me to. Emily's fingers tightened slightly around the edge of the bench. And for the first time, she didn't tell him to go. But she didn't tell him to stay either. She just sat there, caught between two worlds. The one she knew, and the one that suddenly felt possible. And Jack, He stayed right where he was, waiting, not pushing, not leaving, because somehow he understood. This wasn't about saving them in a moment. It was about proving he wasn't just another person passing through their lives. And as the silence stretched between them, Emily finally spoke again. Quietly, carefully. "If you stay." She looked up at him. "You don't disappear tomorrow." Jack didn't answer right away. Emily's words didn't sound like a request. They sounded like a condition, a boundary built from too many broken promises. He looked at her, really looked at her, at the way her shoulders stayed slightly tense, even while sitting still, at the way her eyes didn't fully trust what was in front of her, and then at Olivia, who was watching him with quiet hope, like she wanted to believe something good could finally stay. Jack exhaled slowly. "I won't disappear," he said. His voice wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. It carried something steadier than that. Emily held his gaze. "You can't just say it," she replied. "People say things all the time." Jack nodded. "You're right." That caught her off guard. She expected resistance, not agreement. Jack continued, his tone calm, honest. "So I won't ask you to believe me right now." A small pause. "I'll just show up." Olivia's eyes lit up slightly at that. Emily didn't smile. But she didn't look away either. The tension in her shoulders eased, just a fraction. "Okay," she said quietly. It wasn't trust, but it was something. And for now, that was enough. Time passed slowly after that. The kind of slow that feels almost unfamiliar. Jack stayed near the bench, not too close, not too far. The girls finished eating, more relaxed now. Olivia leaned back slightly, her small stomach finally full. Emily kept her posture upright, alert, but calmer. Jack glanced at his watch, then back at them. "Do you usually stay around here?" he asked gently. Emily hesitated, then gave a small nod. "Sometimes." "Where do you go at night?" he asked. That question made her stiffen again. Jack noticed immediately. "Hey, you don't have to answer that," he added quickly. "I'm not trying to." "We move," Emily said, cutting him off. Her voice wasn't defensive this time, just careful. "We don't stay in one place too long." Jack nodded slowly. He understood why. Kids like them. They learned early. Staying too long meant being found. And being found didn't always mean being safe. Olivia looked up at him. "Are you gonna tell someone about us?" she asked. Jack met her eyes. "No." Emily studied him again. "You promise?" Jack didn't hesitate. "I promise." Another pause. Then Olivia smiled faintly. "Okay." It was simple, but it meant everything. A breeze passed through the park. Leaves shifted softly. Somewhere in the distance, laughter echoed. Other children. Different lives. Emily noticed it. Her eyes drifted briefly toward the sound, then back down again, like it didn't belong to her. Jack followed her gaze. "You ever go over there?" he asked, nodding toward the playground. Emily shook her head. "No." "Why not?" She shrugged slightly. "Not our place." Jack frowned just a little. "There's no rule about that." Emily looked at him. "There is," she said quietly. "You just don't see it." That hit deeper than he expected. Jack didn't argue. Because she wasn't wrong. There were lines in this world. Invisible. But very real. Olivia shifted slightly, her voice softer now. "Mom used to take us to parks," she said. Emily's head turned slightly. Olivia continued, almost like she was remembering out loud. She'd push us on the swings and laugh when we went too high. Jack listened carefully. Emily's expression softened. Just a little. She used to pack snacks too, Olivia added. Even when we didn't have much. Emily nodded faintly. She always made it feel like enough. Silence settled again. But this time, it wasn't heavy. It was filled with memory, warm and painful at the same time. Jack swallowed. What was she like? He asked gently. Emily didn't answer right away. Then, she didn't give up, she said. Simple. But it carried everything. Olivia smiled faintly. She used to say, no matter how bad things get, we stay together. Emily's hand found Olivia's again. Instinct. Always. Jack watched that. That bond. Stronger than anything else they had. And suddenly, he understood something. Helping them wasn't just about giving them a place. It was about not breaking that. Not taking away the only thing they truly trusted. The sun shifted slightly higher. Time was moving. Even if the moment felt still. Jack reached into his pocket, then paused. He didn't want to rush anything. But he also knew. He couldn't just leave this as a one-time encounter. I'll come back tomorrow, he said. Emily's eyes lifted. Same time. Olivia's face brightened. Really? Jack nodded. Really? Emily held his gaze again. Searching. Testing. People don't come back, she said quietly. Jack didn't argue. He just said, I will. Olivia leaned closer to Emily. He will, she whispered, like she was trying to convince her. Emily didn't respond. But she didn't reject it either. Jack took a small step back, giving them space. I'll see you tomorrow, he said. Olivia gave a small wave. Bye, Jack. Emily stayed quiet, but her eyes followed him. All the way. Jack walked back toward his car slowly. Not rushing. Because something inside him didn't want to break the moment too quickly. When he reached the door, he paused, looked back. They were still there, sitting close, talking softly, together. He got into the car, but didn't start it right away. Instead, he leaned back slightly, letting out a breath he didn't realize he was holding. His phone buzzed. Emma. He stared at the screen for a second, then answered. Hey. Her voice was quiet. Did you find them? Jack looked out through the windshield. At the park. At the two small figures in the distance. Yeah, he said softly. A pause on the other end. And? Jack's grip on the phone tightened slightly. They're worse off than I thought. Emma didn't speak, but he could feel her listening. They're alone, he continued. Completely. Another pause. Then, what are you going to do? Jack didn't answer immediately, because the truth was, what he wanted to do wasn't simple. It wasn't small. And it definitely wasn't something that would leave his life unchanged. He glanced at the girls one more time, then said quietly, I think. A breath. I'm about to make a decision that changes everything. The line went silent, and somewhere behind him, on that bench, Emily looked up suddenly, like she felt something shift, something coming, and for reasons she couldn't explain. Her heart started beating just a little faster. Emma didn't speak for a few seconds. Jack could hear her breathing on the other end, slow, controlled, like she was choosing her words carefully. What kind of decision? She finally asked. Jack rested his head back against the seat, his eyes still on the park. I don't know all the details yet, he admitted. But I know I can't just walk away from this. Emma's voice softened. Jack, We've said that before. He knew what she meant. Promises. Plans. Things that felt right in the moment, but didn't always last. This isn't like that, he said quietly. A pause. Then he added, It doesn't feel temporary. Emma didn't respond right away. Jack could almost picture her, standing in that quiet kitchen, holding onto the counter like she always did when something felt too heavy. What do they want? She asked. Jack looked back toward the bench again. They didn't ask for anything, he said. That's the problem. Emma exhaled slowly. That's not a problem, Jack. That's pain. He closed his eyes for a second. I know. Silence stretched between them. Then Emma asked something softer, more personal. Did they remind you of him? Jack's chest tightened. He didn't answer right away, because the truth was complicated. Yes, he said finally. Emma didn't speak, but he felt it, the weight of that answer. I saw it in the way they hold on to each other, Jack continued quietly. Like if they let go, everything falls apart. Emma's voice trembled slightly. That's how we used to hold him. Jack swallowed. I remember. Another silence. But this one was shared. Back in the park, Emily shifted slightly on the bench. Her eyes followed Jack's car. Still there. Still parked. She didn't like that feeling in her chest. It wasn't fear. It wasn't exactly hope either. It was something in between. Unfamiliar. Olivia said softly, nudging her. Emily looked down. What? Do you think he's coming back tomorrow? Emily glanced toward the car again. Then away. I don't know. Olivia frowned slightly. I think he will. Emily didn't respond. She picked at the edge of the paper bag absent-mindedly. You always say that, she murmured. Olivia tilted her head. Say what? That people don't come back, Olivia said. But what if this time is different? Emily's fingers stilled. For a moment, she didn't move. Then she looked at her sister. You can't think like that, she said quietly. Olivia's expression softened. Why not? Because it hurts more when you're wrong. The words were simple, but they carried something deeper. Experience. Olivia leaned closer to her. But what if you're wrong this time? Emily didn't answer. Because she didn't know. And that scared her more than anything. Jack sat in the car a little longer, then finally started the engine. As he pulled away, he checked the rear-view mirror. The girls were still there. Smaller now, but still together. Always together. He drove in silence. No music. No distractions. Just thoughts. By the time he reached the mansion, the sun had already begun to shift. The light inside felt softer, quieter. Emma was in the living room, sitting exactly where he expected, hands resting in her lap, eyes distant, but waiting. Jack walked in slowly. She looked up. You found them, she said. Not a question. Jack nodded. I did. Emma studied his face, searching for something. Are they okay? Jack hesitated, then shook his head slightly. No. Emma looked down. Her fingers intertwined tightly. That bad. Jack exhaled. They're surviving, he said. But that's it. Emma closed her eyes for a moment, like she needed that second just to hold herself together. Jack stepped closer. I brought them food, he added. Talk to them a little. Emma opened her eyes again. And they don't trust easily, he said. Especially Emily. Emma nodded faintly. She's protecting her sister. Jack looked at her. That's exactly what she's doing. Emma's gaze softened just a little. "Some kids grow up too fast," she whispered. Jack didn't respond, because he was thinking the same thing. Emma looked up again. "What happens tomorrow?" Jack sat down across from her. "I go back." Emma held his gaze. "And then?" Jack leaned forward slightly. "I keep showing up." Emma's expression shifted. There was something fragile there. Something uncertain. "Jack," she said carefully, "you know where this could lead." He nodded. "I do." "And you're ready for that?" Jack paused. Not because he didn't understand the question, but because he did. Completely. "No," he said honestly. Emma blinked. Surprised. Jack continued. "But I'm more afraid of doing nothing." That hit her hard. She looked away, toward the window. The light outside had softened even more. "I don't know if I can go through that again," she whispered. Jack's voice lowered. "I'm not asking you to, not yet." Emma looked back at him. "Then what are you asking?" Jack didn't hesitate this time. "Just don't shut the door before we even know what's on the other side." Emma stared at him. Long. Quiet. Then her shoulders relaxed, just slightly. "I'm not promising anything," she said. Jack nodded. "I know. But," she added softly, "I'll listen." That was enough. More than enough. Jack exhaled slowly. For the first time that day, something inside him felt steady. That night, the city settled into quiet again. But not everything was still. On a narrow sidewalk not far from the park, Emily and Olivia walked side by side, their steps slower now. The day had taken its energy. Olivia whispered. "Yeah. Do you think Mom sent him?" Emily stopped walking. The question caught her off guard. She turned slightly. "What?" Olivia looked up at her. Like, maybe she heard us last night. Emily stared at her. Part of her wanted to dismiss it, to protect them from false hope. But another part couldn't ignore the timing. The way things had happened. Too close. Too sudden. Emily looked up at the sky. The moon was already rising again. Quiet. Watching. Then she looked back at Olivia. "I don't know," she said softly. Olivia smiled just a little. "I think she did." Emily didn't answer. But as they kept walking, she held her sister's hand just a little tighter. And somewhere deep inside her, a thought formed. One she didn't fully trust yet, but couldn't completely push away either. Maybe, just maybe, that wish hadn't disappeared into the night after all. Maybe, just maybe, that wish hadn't disappeared into the night after all. The next morning came with a quiet kind of anticipation. Emily woke before Olivia, her eyes opening slowly, but her mind already awake. Waiting. She sat up, listening to the distant hum of the city. Then she looked at her sister, still asleep, peaceful for once. Emily gently brushed her hair back. "Hey, Liv," she whispered softly. Olivia stirred, then blinked awake. For a second, she smiled. "Morning." Emily hesitated, then asked, "Do you still think he's coming?" Olivia didn't even pause. "Yeah." Simple. Certain. Emily looked down. She didn't say it out loud, but for the first time, she hoped she was wrong. They made their way back to the park. Same bench. Same spot. But everything felt different now. Time moved slower. Every passing minute, heavier than the last. Olivia kept glancing toward the road. Every sound, every car, made her sit up just a little straighter. Emily tried not to look. Tried to stay calm. tried not to expect anything, but her fingers kept tightening around Olivia's hand. Then a car pulled up. Black. Familiar. Olivia gasped softly. Emily looked, and there he was. Jack stepped out of the car. Not rushed, not uncertain, just there, like he said he would be. Olivia stood up immediately, a smile breaking across her face. He came back. Emily didn't move right away. She just watched him, her chest tightening in a way she couldn't explain. Because this time, he didn't disappear. Jack walked toward them, and for a moment, none of them spoke. But something had already changed. "You came," Olivia said softly. Jack nodded. "I said I would." Emily stood slowly, still cautious, but no longer pulling away. Jack looked at them both. "I brought something," he said. But this time, it wasn't just food. He set a small bag down. Inside, clean clothes. Warm ones. Shoes that actually fit. Olivia's eyes widened. "For us." Jack nodded. "If that's okay." Emily looked at the bag, then at him. Her voice quieter now. "Why are you doing all this?" Jack didn't hesitate this time. "Because you shouldn't have to live like this." Emily held his gaze. "And then what?" The question hung in the air. Bigger now. More real. Jack took a slow breath. "Then, we figure out something better." Emily's eyes searched his. "You mean, like a home?" Jack didn't look away. "Yeah." Olivia's breath caught. Emily felt it too. That word. Home. It wasn't just a place. It was everything they had lost. Everything they didn't dare to ask for. Emily shook her head slightly. "That doesn't just happen." Jack stepped a little closer. "No, it doesn't," he said. "But it can." Emily's voice trembled just a little. "And if it doesn't?" Jack's expression softened. "Then I'll still be here." Silence. Then Olivia did something neither of them expected. She stepped forward and hugged him. Small arms. Tight. Real. Jack froze for a second. Then slowly. He wrapped his arms around her. Careful. Like she was something fragile. Something precious. Emily watched. Her heart racing. Because Olivia didn't trust easily. Not like this. Not this fast. And yet, she had. Jack looked at Emily, still holding Olivia gently. "I'm not here to take anything from you," he said quietly. "I'm here to give you something you should have had all along." Emily's eyes filled slightly, but she didn't cry. She stepped closer, slowly. Then, she reached out, not fully embracing him, but enough. Enough to say, she was trying. Later that day, Jack walked into the mansion with the girls beside him. Olivia held his hand. Emily walked close, but still aware of everything around her. Emma stood in the living room, still, watching. Her heart caught the moment she saw them. Two little girls. So small, so guarded, so familiar. Olivia hid slightly behind Jack. Emily didn't. She met Emma's eyes. Carefully. Emma took a slow step forward. Her voice soft. "Hi." Olivia peeked out. "Hi." Emma's eyes filled, but she held it together. "You can come in," she said gently. Emily looked at Jack, then back at Emma, and stepped forward. Olivia followed, still holding on to Jack. The space between them, fragile, but real. Emma knelt down slightly, trying not to overwhelm them. "What are your names?" she asked softly. "Emily," she said. And I'm Olivia. Emma smiled. A real one. For the first time in a long time. They're beautiful names. Olivia smiled shyly. Emily stayed quiet. But her shoulders relaxed. Just a little. Jack watched Emma. Watched something inside her shift. Slowly. Carefully. But undeniably. Life. Returning. That night, the house felt different. Not empty anymore. Emily sat quietly on the edge of a soft bed. Olivia lay beside her, already half asleep. Jack stood in the doorway. Emma beside him. Neither of them speaking. Just watching. Holding on to the moment. Emily looked up. "Are we staying?" she asked quietly. Jack glanced at Emma. Then back at her. "For as long as you want." Emily hesitated, then nodded. Olivia reached for her hand in her sleep. Emily held it tightly. Jack stepped back slightly. Emma stayed, her eyes still on the girls. "They need us," she whispered. Jack looked at her. "Yes." Emma turned to him. And for the first time in years, there was no emptiness in her eyes. Only something warm. Something alive. "Then we don't let them go." Jack nodded. "We won't." Days turned into weeks. Slowly. The fear faded. Not completely. But enough. Emily started to laugh. Just a little. Olivia stopped looking over her shoulder every time a door closed. Emma began to smile again. Cooking. Talking. Living. And Jack, he stopped feeling like he was just surviving. Because for the first time since he lost his son, he had something to protect again. Something to fight for. One evening, Emily stood by the window, watching the sky. Olivia beside her. "Do you think Mom can see us?" Olivia asked softly. Emily looked up, then down at her sister. "Yeah," she said. Olivia smiled. "I think she's happy." Emily nodded slowly. "Me too." Then she looked around. At the house. At the life they never thought they'd have. And whispered, "We didn't just find a home, we found people who stayed." Because in the end, it wasn't money that changed their lives. It wasn't power. It wasn't status. It was something far simpler. Someone listened. Someone stayed. And someone chose love, when it would have been easier to walk away. And sometimes, that's all it takes to turn a wish into a family. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, and tell me in the comments, where are you watching from?